Welcome to Brash Ag, the farm innovation podcast with hosts Raymond King and Kit Franklin.
So then, Ray, we're now back on the Fosse, back in the Freelander, heading south, heading to southwest.
Okay, I've detected a sense of ease that has fallen upon you now that we're back on the Fosse way, no longer requiring any navigation whatsoever. You're just using your Cotswold instincts to drive in a straight line,
and hope to not get caught by too many slow-moving vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we do,
fickle mistress, the Fosse.
It is a fickle mistress, but you just need to know where you can make a maneuver. That's what you need to know on the Fosse, is where those straight bits are.
Yeah.
Where you can make that pass stick.
Yeah. Oh dear. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. What do we think of our day at Ceres then, Ray?
I've really enjoyed it, actually. I think sometimes you can go to a show, or I suppose perhaps I missed Llama earlier this year, so I probably haven't had my fix of seeing large machines and, all gathered together and, nice and shiny and all the rest of it. But I really felt like, I enjoyed my time looking around and actually taking some time to talk to some people. I mean, we spoke to some really interesting people, didn't we? I think our plan is this is our return. Although this is our return from the show, this is our intro to everyone for our episode about the show, or one of our episodes about the show, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're going to follow this by dropping in some clips where we interviewed various people. We ended up speaking a little bit longer. My ones at Llama were mostly 5 or 6 minutes. I think the ones we've done today have been more around 10 minutes. So we've not got a huge amount of clips, but we've probably got enough for a couple of episodes. We'll try and work out how to split them up or whatever.
Yeah.
But we spoke to some interesting people. We spoke to some obvious people. We spoke to some less obvious people. Your favourite thing at the show was a sticker on the back of a McHale baler.
Yeah. I think McHale have absolutely nailed their marketing, haven't they? They're an Irish company. And they're
selling to the grassman.
They're selling to the grassman, and they've put a huge V8 sticker on the side.
You're never late with a V8. That's what my Irish students will always tell me.
Huge V8 sticker on the side of their latest baler, and I can't see how it's not going to sell. I just can't see it. I mean, can you see? I just feel bad because V9 just doesn't look so good, and they've got a little while till they get V10. I suppose that's quite cool, and then V12 is obviously going to be absolutely.
Then I expected W16.
W16. We're way off that, aren't we? So yeah, I mean,
yeah, but yeah.
Where'd you go from there when you've got your V8 baler?
I love it when they. Yeah, no, you're right. Let's start off with our bale spike product side quest then, Ray. We were going to find one or two each, or that was our aspiration was to find one each. Reality is we walked around together all day, so we didn't really do that.
No,
but we did find a company that's come out of nowhere. I'm going to say we'd struggle to call it an agri-tech company, but it's very much an agricultural engineering company.
Oh yeah,
and it's not come out of nowhere for them. They've been going for 5 years, but they're called, you're going to say the name, Ray.
Ceres
Engineering. Ceres?
Well, they were pretty agnostic about that. They didn't really mind how we pronounced it.
Roman god of agriculture, apparently, which we should know.
Goddess of agriculture.
Goddess of agriculture. Anyway, Ceres, they're a bright orange metalwork company, proper ag engineering, but their origin story goes, essentially they made grain pushers, and they make some whacking great 18-meter long grain pushers, I think he said they could do. Huge bits of iron. And that basically was their bale spike product. And although it probably breaks the sort of £1,000 mark significantly, they certainly tick the box of it's gonna work. you get this machine, it's built well, it's going to work, and the money wasn't silly. I think they started at about $6,000 or something for a telehandler.
Yeah,
it's £600. You pay your money, you get your machine, it does the job. That was 5 years ago. Now they've got a whole stand at Cereals with 5 or 6 different machines. They've got a subsoiler, they've got a mold plow, they've got a tree grab. You know, they have basically sprung off. They did one product, they did it well, they sold that machine, and now they've got the money to develop and build and sell everything else.
Yeah, I mean, if I think their bread and butter probably will always be the sort of the big iron, the fabrication work. I don't think they're about to make a rapid leap into sort of high tech, electronics or anything like that. But they're in a position where, in the future, if they wanted to go down that route or start to incorporate a little bit more controls or, step into new things, I think they're in a good position to do so.
But it just goes right to my point. To get a company off the ground, they had a baseline product that's going to work and do what it says on the tin, and that has enabled them to now get established and get a bigger product portfolio.
Yeah,
and what's cool, I mean, if I go back to when we were graduating uni, probably on my list of things I might want to try and do in my life, which was not quite defined at the time, still isn't now, but it would have been start my own engineering company, like start my own, design, develop cultivators, attachments, whatever. It's kind of nice that even in the world where there's lots of companies that exist and there's lots of mergers and takeovers, there is still room for somebody to find that little niche and push forward in that really mechanical ag space and start and make a go of it, which I think is cool. So what we're going to do, Ray, we're going to stop talking. We're going to go straight to our interview with Ceres, and then that'll lead us into the rest of our clips. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it sounds perfect. Yeah, no,
great. I hope you all enjoy.
Right, so we're here on the Ceres Machinery stand with Martin Johnson to talk through some of the products and technology they've got available today. So, Martin, what have you got here on your, what's your core product range?
Well, of course, we've got the barnstormers we're renowned for.
Yeah.
We've got anything here from the small little 4.5 metre. We actually start building a 3.5, but that's 4.5X, which means it's got the bolt and flange.
Mm-hmm.
We've also got an 8 metre X +2, so that's a 10 metre pusher.
Yeah.
And we've also got the slightly larger loading shovel range here.
I have to say that is a monstrous piece of metal.
That's a small one.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, we start at 8 metre on loading shovel, which we sell to a lot of quarries, coal mines all around the world.
Yeah.
Lots of different various applications. That's only a little 14 metre. Yeah. So that's what the sort of mill size would have. Once we get to docks, we normally go sort of 16, 18. And then in Turkey, in a glass factory, we've got a 22 metre.
Wow. And so for context, the barnstormer is a grain pusher.
Grain pusher, but they can be modified pushing anything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And that was, we believe, from talking to your colleague, that was really the product that maybe got you started as an independent manufacturer.
Yeah. The initial plan was we were going to go into the market with one product. The first product we chose to go with was the grain pusher.
It's a great name as well. Barnstormer is a great name.
Yeah. I always try and be a little bit quirky with the name. It's a bit different, stand out in the crowd, and it's a backed name. And over that, a lot of people now call grain pushers barnstormers. We're turning into the Hoover of the vacuum cleaner world.
Yeah, right. Yeah, great.
So then shortly after that, we followed with the Unimold, which is massive leap ahead in the technology of mold ploughing.
Yeah,
it makes the job that's tedious and horrible a little bit more bearable. Linkage mounted, is very kind to the tractor, very efficiently used.
Long skid for sort of
long hard ox leg. Two-way knuckle on the front, vertical and horizontal. We've got a ram that's in float when it's working, so it guides into work quicker and comes out of work smoother. So rather than pulling the front end of the tractor up in the air and wheeling off at the distance, the mold plough still in the air, it'll raise the headstock and the leg will drive itself out the ground, so you don't get the big hole at the end of the field.
Yeah. It's got a really nice integrated serrated disc as well, just bringing your draft forces down a little bit.
Yeah, with the disc is much there to clear trash, but the way we mount the disc, it's uncongestible.
Yeah.
A lot of people put a disc between two plates and it just wedges up.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that can congest that disc because it can all flow freely. If you get a lot of build up, it will roll over the sides.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of thought go into that. It's got 2 big spring dampers each side, so that is a machine that will work on tractors with guidance. The tractor is in charge, the mould drainer will follow.
Yeah.
Without that, you can quite often end up veering off course. Your guidance will try and steer the tractor across. You end up crabbing up the field sideways, losing all your traction because you're fighting with your own front wheels.
Yeah, great. And then you've got a section of sort of other bits of kit. You've got a tree ram for the front of a loader as well.
Yep. It's something new we've just brought out. We've been working on it for a little bit of time, but yeah, everyone's saying we want tree shears. Why do you want a tree shear? Why do you want to leave a stump? If you want to take a hedge out or take a tree out, grab hold of it, give it a shake, pull it out, bang the dirt off the roots, ready for the chipper or the fire.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah,
There's no point playing with it.
No, great.
So with the pincers, you can go round, loosen up roots on bigger trees before you then grab hold of it.
Yeah.
Shake, but you can also use it to hold the tree while someone chainsaws it off.
Yeah.
And then by the way it works away from you, you've got the weight of the tree in the right place, so you can drive around site with it. If you've got conifers between buildings, you can grab it, cut it off, drive around to where you want it, lower it down. So that works quite well. Then we've got our standard bag lifters, implement movers, which have been very good sellers over the last few days.
So where are you based?
We're based in Cambridgeshire.
And manufactured here in the UK, designed here in the UK?
Yes, all UK manufacturing design. We like to use British steel where we can, as much of a novelty as that is now. But apart from that, we mostly use Swedish steel just for the sheer quality. It cuts better, works nicer. We try and use
Hardox is Swedish, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Swedish steel. We run a lot of Hardox. We can buy Hardox direct from Swedish steel. Yeah, one of the few people in the country, and it works well to our advantage.
Great.
A lot of quarrying and other big machinery, so we have a use for the Hardox.
We see here a lot of this kit's got laser profile parts, things like that. Have you got capacity yourselves to do that, or
yes,
use it?
We try and do everything in house as much as we can. We've got big Cincinnati mills. We've got twin head lathes. We've got several different choices of plasma cutters, O2 cutters. Still got gas beds, so we can do a wide variety of stuff ourselves. Press brake up to 600 tons. We can normally do the odd bit if we can.
Yeah, great.
We don't like to outsource and depend on other people because it doesn't always work.
And so what got you going into this? I think about 5 years you've been going into this?
Ceres Engineering has been going for about 5 years.
What was your background before that? Were you farming? Were you engineering? Or?
A bit of both. I grew up on a family farm. I was dumped on tractors from about 8 years old, mould draining.
Hence the passion for it.
I never was a school person.
Yeah.
If you want someone with letters after their name, it's not me, I'm afraid. Yeah. But I've just learned over the years. I am dyslexic, can't read or write a word. Just my mind works a bit differently, and I'm always thinking about designs, how to build things better, stronger, safer, more reliable, what's right for the customer, and more importantly, I can supply the right customer with the right machine that they want to do their job for a long time. We don't engineer in any obsolescence. It's built to last. We're building a profile. We're building a big company that is going to be successful. Well, in the space of 5 years, what we've done, pretty.
You're speaking to the converted there, a fellow dyslexic here, Martin. So well done. And I think it's brilliant to see, the fact you've been able to grow a company and a product range so quickly, and it's clearly all well built, well engineered kit that's going to do the job it intended to do. So it's really great to see that you can still build a company, start a company in this day and age and compete.
Yeah, that's why we like the direct market. We do sell through most dealers in the country. Almost every dealer in the country we will buy and sell through. But to be honest, I prefer dealing with the customer direct. So they explain to me what their problem is, what machine they want, and they will get the right machine for them at the right price. With no dealers to go through, no headaches of people getting confused and not having a clue what they're talking about in the meantime.
Right.
On that note, then I suppose you've got a large range of machinery here, but say for example, how much would we be looking at retail for one of the larger crane stormer?
With a loading shaft size, with about 6,000 pounds for a small 8-metre wheat machine, all the way up to 50,000-60,000 pounds for a very, very specialist and unique one-off type machine that would.
I think we can say you're getting a lot of steel for that money.
Yes, machine is under £10,000.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So,
And then something like the tool carrier with the drone down there.
I think tool carrier about 80 or something around that figure for it. So it's not going to change the world, but it gets product out there. It gets people using it. We want a machine on every farm up and down the country for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I was saying it's a nice nice standout colour, nice orange.
Well, yeah, when we
Stand out in the, dare I say, in the stinging nettles in 50 years' time.
Yeah, I mean, when you go for a grain pusher, you think of a grain shed without roof lights, because they don't like having roof lights in grain stores. You think of the dust.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to see that pusher 10 metres in front of you waving around rather than putting it through the roof.
Well, there you go. Well, just in front of us now for context is a spray drone that we were chatting to them earlier. So we've gone from spray drones half an hour ago, grain pushes and disability. Thanks very much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Not a problem.
Cheers.
So we're here with Tom from Autonomous Agri Solutions. Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, very good, very good. So you've got some of your usual fare on your stand today, but what's taken our interest is the spot spray ING.
Yeah, the spot spraying is from Austria, from a company farming. They've been developing this over the last few years, and we now really see it as commercially viable and ready for the UK market. This is an artificial intelligence powered machine with stereo cameras viewing the crop ahead of a spray boom. The spray boom has a line of nozzles that are 55 millimeters apart, giving us a spot size of chemical spray at 5.5 centimeters. We also have a potential to go down to a 2.5 centimeter spot. At the moment, this is being used in working widths of 3 meters, 6 meters, 7.5 and 12 meters, and commonly being used in vegetable crops in Germany, such as onions, lettuce, and a range of different salads. We can spot spray specific weeds. We can apply beneficials directly onto the plant in question. And this is something we're really excited about for the UK market and see a strong demand beginning in the vegetable sector and then moving into the wider agricultural grain systems.
So the spot spraying methodology then, Tom, is it the AI is identifying the crop and killing everything else, or is the AI identifying the weeds and targeting the weeds?
So there are 3 options here. The first one is we identify the crop and spray onto it. Okay. The second one is we identify the crop and spray off it, and we can create a safety buffer around that. Great. The third one is to identify specific problem weeds and spray directly onto those.
Okay, and do you have a library, or does the spot spray ING have a library of weeds already trained, or is that required, or is there training to be done for UK weed burden? Or is it already there?
Currently, they've got quite an extensive library, but because you need to see specific weeds at different growth stages with different soil types as background, every machine in the field is supporting to train the others. That data set is shared between all machines. So if we go into a new crop with a new problem weed, the time it would take to record and start treating at a safe level would be just a couple of days. And then over the next couple of weeks, that would increase to a really, really high level of accuracy.
Yeah, okay, interesting. So this is sort of akin to what we've seen before with eco-robotics. So what's the sort of key differences between that eco-robotics product and this product that we're looking at now?
So though we think the eco-robotics is a fantastic machine, one of the limiting factors is that it is only a triple bed 6 meter machine, and that doesn't work with all different growing systems. Yeah. So one of the key benefits of the farming system is that you can have a 12 meter machine or different working widths that suit your specific needs. Obviously, robotics is very close to our heart, and this is a machine that is suitable to be mounted onto the robotic to work fully autonomously.
Okay. And how much does it cost then?
So a 3 meter machine in the UK, it depends on what you're doing with it. Because if you're going into 50 different crops, you need a lot of different machine learning algorithms to treat those. If you just have one crop, it's simpler. So it would be sub £100,000 for a machine, but that would be done on a case by case basis, depending on the farmer's specific needs.
Radio. And
so the models themselves, like if I'm the farmer, I buy the machine. Do I have to pay a sort of a subscription for the model, or an upfront sort of license fee or something for the software? How does that work?
That's something we're currently trying to define and getting feedback from the market to see exactly what's the best solution.
Yeah.
We think there will probably be a base level that gives you an up-to-date crop model when you buy a machine, and then you could potentially buy add-ons going forward.
Right.
But we're still quite flexible and and undecided on how we will do that long-term for the UK market.
And is there a sort of a data capture piece to this? Can you use it if I'm a farmer and I'm conversations I've been having with people, and sort of the understanding I've got is there's a lot more drive for farmers to capture and own their own data, even if they can't quite yet process it. I think they all see the valued future, looking forwards. Is there a way in which you can actually pull data, images data from this machine?
There is, and because farming have built the full stack from the ground up, they can really work with you on any bespoke projects to do any special requirements you have. But at the moment, a spraying machine, even when it's not spraying, can go out on farm and be recording more data. So you may be looking at having one next season, have a conventional spray program that's working for you, but still take this out to create that data set for your following season.
Okay. And is this covered in any of the funding that's available? This type of technology at the moment, in terms of transforming technology, that fund.
That's a very difficult question because it seems to change with the wind, what's available and what's in it. Okay. So we think this machine has legs in its own right at a full price machine to payback time. If there are benefits to help a farmer buy one easier and break down barriers to adoption, then that's an extra bonus.
Okay. And then, so final question then, Tom. Is this the first one you've got in the UK, or have you got a couple? And then obviously it's an Austrian-made machine. How many are out there in the wild?
So we've been talking to farming for about 3 years now, and this year we've signed to be the dealer. So this is the first machine that's in the UK at the moment. We hope that we're successful at the Ceres show and get more in. Currently out working from last season are 7 machines in Germany that are generating great success for the growers using them.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, that's all. Great, thank you very much.
So we're here at the sort of AgXeed demo arena, demo plot with Peter again, who I spoke to at Lama. Peter, we're watching a new machine here. We're watching a machine with wheels rather than the AgXeed that everyone will be used to with the 2 tracks on it. So yeah, tell us about this machine, how it differs from the other.
So yeah, this is the mid-sized Agbot, this 4-wheeled unit, 75 horsepower. So it keeps us out of the EGR and AdBlue emissions concern. So yeah, wheeled versions obviously give the flexibility of being kind of on the ground. So Class do quite a few demonstrations with rakes and tedders and mowing for this 4-wheeler. Sales of this are starting to increase. We have 2 machines presently running in Kent. They are cultivating and mowing turf.
On this wheeled machine?
Yep.
Right, yeah.
There were a pair of these. So yeah, it's a slightly smaller market. It is only 2-wheel drive, so there are limitations around that, but just as versatile for the right customers. Works in exactly the same way. Electric 2.9 litre Deutz engine drives a generator, and that provides electric to each wheel motor on the rear. So technically you're in diff lock all the time, but it does adjust the speed based on the curvature of the direction. So
yeah, so like vectors the power, vectors the speed. Yeah, cool. And that's great. So 75 horsepower. So we're going back to farming with 995s then, right? This is my dream. This is my dream coming true. I'm all about less horsepower, smaller, lighter weight, smaller form factors. The only reason we've got huge machines is because we've got a lack of people. If we don't have a lack, if the machine doesn't need people, there's no reason we can't have smaller machines and a few of them. So this is great. How much is this going to set me back then?
So yeah, as with a larger one, typically about twice the price of conventional tractors. So this 4-wheeler is about £180,000. Yeah, as you say, lighter and more convenient to get around. We see customers subsoiling at the minute are going at half the speed, but using way less fuel and serious reduction in wearing metal. subsoiler tips not getting as hot.
Well, yeah, and
all
also,
sorts of benefits.
how do you feel about sort of nighttime operations, or are you requiring someone to be in the field witnessing? What are you recommending, or can people let them go 24 hours and go to sleep, or is it you're requiring someone in the field and monitoring it?
No,
how are they operating?
they're all fully unsupervised. So
Right.
you can leave the machine running. If they come across an obstacle, they will slow down. If said obstacle doesn't move out of the way with its lights and audible warnings to move that obstruction, it'll ping you to suggest it's done such. You can then monitor the obstruction from your cameras, and you can then decide to carry on. So if it's a small swath of straw or a small branch has come down, you can then take responsibility and liability and re-engage the system to carry on through the field.
Great, that's really good to know. So yeah, it comes down to that thing of, well, maybe we can extend working hours, and that smaller, slower work rate isn't an issue once you extend those working hours. That's really good.
I was going to say, have you noticed that, like, any difference in terms of like the difference between the form factor? I mean, you've got a two-tracked machine here as well as the wheeled one. In terms of like perception of people, do you feel this is something we were talking about when we kind of walked up to here. You see the wheeled machine and you see a direct replacement for a tractor, because that's your sort of perception of what a tractor is. Have you noticed that sort of drawn more people in as they're like, I can see now it's a tractor, or is there more of a, how are people kind of perceiving it?
I think electric cars in the early noughties were perceived as a modification to the milk float.
Yeah.
And as a result, in bringing anything to market, until Teslas could outperform Porsches, people weren't taking them very seriously.
Yeah.
I think in the same kind of way, the largest track machine was designed and built to outperform Europe's average size tractor. Back in 2018, that was 140 horsepower. So really, for demonstration purposes, I like to go overkill and over-deliver on those expectations. The level of traction, lift, and fuel performance from the track machine is better than what people expect. So for that reason, we generally do more demos. This 75 horsepower machine is a more competitively priced alternative for those people who are really taking autonomy seriously. So try and do more demonstrations with the track machine, unless people specifically require this.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, so it's just that sort of, we talk a lot about, is the sci-fi look of a machine a good thing or a bad thing? And as I say, it's just like, not that the track machine is necessarily hugely sci-fi, but it is definitely a different machine, whereas this is very much, could be a 75 horsepower tractor with a cam off. It's not so dissimilar in form and shape and whatever. So it's just an interesting thing about perception, really. Cool. How are the track machines getting on?
Track machines are going really well. So a couple of updates in the second quarter. Sequence control. In the past, we came to the end of the row, end of the lane, and the machine would do pretty much everything at once. So it would lift, it would turn the PTO off, it would altogether hydraulics. So sequence control and the staggering of all those features has been something desperately needed. So that's come to a recent digital update. Field to field is also a new one. So again, customers with smaller fields have been waiting for this one for a while. So now we have the ability to finish the task, commute over to defined gateway. And as long as that gateway is twice the width of the implement, can then commute through that into the next field and then start the next.
So we're in a perfect example here. We're stood in a field in Lincolnshire with hedged divided sort of 20-acre fields, and you would be able to skip from one field to the next as long as it was in that ring-fenced area.
Absolutely. So previously the machine would go to its finish point, it would cool down for 5 minutes and turn off. You then need to go to it, move it into the next field. So this is really going to help, especially those guys with smaller fields, and in season being able to stack those will allow it to work for up to 26 hours between fills of diesel.
Wow, crazy. And numbers on the ground of the track machine now?
So with 3 more due in next month, so that should take us to 11 in the UK.
Great. Well, Peter, thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good show.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Right, so we're here today on the RWAC stand, and we're here with Nick Webster of RWAC, Managing Director of RWAC, and Sean Coops of
University of Lincoln.
Thank you very much. So we were drawn to the stand because there's a tool carrying. Is it autonomous, Nick? What's
Well, we started about 5 years ago. Can you remember that far back?
Vaguely.
And we were trying to develop an autonomous robotic weeder.
Okay.
Not complex, into row hoeing.
Yeah.
And we've been working on that ever since. You can see some of that there. And this is one of the earlier iterations of a weeder.
Okay.
We were trying to make it electrically driven. But we found that in order to weed, or hoe, we are entering the soil, and the moment you do that, you suck all the power out. And so we don't any longer think that pure battery will give us the power that we need
because of the soil engagement.
Time we need. You know, with the window of opportunity is so small, we need to be running it 24 hours a day with a machine that's as small as this, or albeit a number of them. So we're looking at an alternative, but the University of Lincoln said, well, we rather like this. So that we applied for another Innovate grant. This time for soil sampling in the field. And this is achieved by plotting the sites within the field. This thing is then autonomously visits each site, and this is where it gets clever, and I move over to Sean. This is where the sampling is done.
So before we move over to Sean, I just want to pick up on a couple of things. You're saying you're hoeing, so and obviously it's sapping battery loss. So you're hoeing it quite quick. What sort of forward speed are you?
Oh, we're looking at 10 to 12 kilometres an hour.
Yeah. Okay. So that is going to be
that is quite a lot.
Experience, this goes faster than that.
Right.
Oh yes, if you put speed isn't our issue, it's safety is our issue.
Yeah. No, okay, we can.
I think also for context of the conversation, we're stood here looking at effectively like a really simple description is a buggy about the size of a small car, smaller than a small car probably.
Yeah.
That's sort of like a
size of a mini, not
size of a mini. Yeah.
A true mini.
A true mini. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like a tool carrier, so it has kind of a space in its midriff underneath where you can hang different tools and things, and it's also covered in various sort of wires and other bits of technology. So I just thought I'd add that.
It was designed by a agricultural machinery dealer and built by an agricultural engineer. So it's spot on as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
and you have a lot of robots at Lincoln that really are there for a different purpose, haven't we?
Not all of them would get around in typical arable fields easily. So this has been out in the field for this actual machine has probably been out in the field for 2 or 3 years now. I forget exactly when this one was built, but it's spent a number of hours driving around. Typical arable fields in east of England largely.
Okay.
So it deals pretty well with wheelings and things like that. So for our purposes, it's quite nice.
Yeah. So what toys have you hung off it then?
We have hung row cultivators off it. We have hung, and at the moment, the things hanging off it are a EMG5 CO2 gas analyzer. So this is something you can just buy off the internet if you know the right sites. You can buy it.
If you're on the dark web,
you're on the dark scientific web, you get one of these. What this does is this measures CO2 flux. So at the moment, it's reading 401 parts per million. So that's the ambient CO2 in the air, and it's got this little chamber here, and then. This is going to be great on a purely audio medium.
Yeah. So we're going to see a thing being lowered to the ground. So we've got a sensing chamber, which I guess has got nothing in the bottom. Yeah.
No.
Like a linear slide rail.
Yeah.
And we're going to lower that.
Yeah. So it's zeroing itself at the moment. So it's got about 20 seconds zeroing itself. So there's a little, I don't know if you can hear it. There's a little high pitch whirring.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a little fan in there, and that's sucking through air while it's not on the ground. So that's just making sure there's no air kept up in the chamber. So it's trying to get the true ambient air CO2 basically.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that for another 4 seconds. So the lights are going to come on here. Again, great for your podcast.
Yeah. So now the linear slide's going. The chamber with its rubber seal on the bottom is being lowered to the ground.
Yeah.
Oh,
so it's actually touched the ground.
Yeah. It's pushing in quite hard.
Yeah.
So this robot's about 250, 300 kilos.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a pretty solid steel frame. So you do need a bit of that weight to really press against to get a good seal.
Yeah.
So to say like the rubber seal is it's just like it's stuff you put on your car for like the gaskets or doors and stuff like that. So it's relatively simple.
Trim seal. Yeah.
So mostly what it is, it's just weight and pressure.
Yeah.
So now we've got a sealed chamber,
Yep.
making contact with the soil.
Fans going, it's sucking up air, and you can see the little numbers here are going up. So this is parts per million.
Okay.
And then that's the air that's the CO2 that's now coming out of the soil.
Okay, well, our ambient was what, 400-ish. Now we're at 417.
Yeah.
So that's 17 more.
Yeah, and it'll do this for like this little light here, and it'll do this for like a minute or so.
Yeah.
This light's purely put on for us in the field.
Yeah.
Because without that, you're sitting here and is it working? Is it finished?
Yeah.
The lights are going.
It's a very good idea.
We've been there. We've both been there waiting for things to work in the field. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is good because it gives you some reassurance that it's going, right?
Yeah.
So that's measuring away, and that's telling us how much CO2 is coming out of the soil, and that's all from like the bacteria, the fungus. So this is giving us like right now in this bit of the soil, this is how active that bit of soil is.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. And then that will come up. And then it will, we'll see a graph on there. But behind the scenes, which you can't see, is it's logging the GPS location, it's logging this, it's logging some parameters, soil moisture, soil temperature, and the other things like that probe in the ground there.
Yeah.
That's getting put back into the computer here.
Yeah.
That's doing a bit of processing on it. When it's finished, we'll see. So we see the lights are
flashing now.
Finished. Yeah. That'll probably come back up.
Yeah. Coming back up.
And then eventually a little graph will pop up here.
Oh, very good.
What's the old one? I think a new one will pop up from the same spot. Here we go, new one.
Yeah.
And so each of these points is a reading.
Yeah.
And then the straight line through that is the kind of average rate across that time.
Okay.
And so it tells you that basically that average rate is how much CO2 is coming out of the ground. They're related because ultimately the carbon being respirated out of the soil is coming from the soil organic matter. That's what's being digested to create it.
Yeah.
But it's not the amount of carbon that is in the soil. For that, you need a physical soil core.
Yeah.
Currently. So what this thing does, so this is a more bespoke bit of kit. So that will take a core and then basically punches through the middle of this thing, takes a core, pulls it back up. It's just like a cheese auger soil core, if you've seen one of them. It takes a core, pulls it back up. This rotates round. Well, actually, it's got a little J.
It's like the chamber of a revolver.
Yeah, kind of. That rotates round, and then the next one's got like a blank core head in it.
Okay.
And then they get taken off to a lab.
Okay.
Because they get taken off to a lab, they're quite expensive. Yeah. The gas sample is free, basically.
Once you bought your web equipment.
Yeah. Then every additional one from that is basically free. It's just time, right?
Yeah.
It's a time. So one of the things we're trying to test is, can we use those flux measurements
as an accurate?
But not for. We don't think we're going to be able to get an accurate amount of carbon in the soil from that. What we do think we might be able to do is say, where is it an interesting place to take another soil core, which is a slightly different thing, because we don't think it's really feasible to predict how much carbon is in the soil from the flux, because there's too much other stuff going on. But we think the relative levels of flux around the field, we might be able to use that to say, where is an interesting place to take another core?
Take an economical amount of cores.
Yeah, so we're trying to minimize the number of these to take. This is based on the information from the flux.
So then, is this the view of this? Is this primarily a research tool that's going to inform a load of papers and learning, or is this a tool that one day might be useful in the crazy world of carbon markets and stuff like that, understanding what is going on in a commercial farm?
Yeah,
is this a generation of knowledge, or is it a generation of a machine?
In an ideal, both of those things. So if you can do the second
that was the right answer.
Yeah. If you can do the second one, you can do the first one, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So the idea, people are selling carbon and things like that, and at the moment, people are, that involves some level of soil coring to ground truth. And things like that. So that ground truthing often requires soil coring. And also this gives you the gas flux gives you another layer of information on top of that.
Yeah.
So those would all be things that would probably fit into, a general field assessment. General carbon field assessment. So
And the idea is, because this is autonomous, it can drive around and it can take quite a few of these points.
Yeah.
And then so you can get a pretty good map around a field of here's the active bit, here's the less active bit. And then that data actually gets beamed up to another partner called Farm B. They're like a farm data platform. They can then cross-reference that data, like the field map data we generate, with a bunch of other stuff that they have, mostly from satellites, but also perhaps prior field history and things like that. So that's kind of the grand vision for how this thing works in the end.
Wow. Sean, thank you very much for your time and talking us through your crazy experiment stroke potential future products.
Thank you.
Right, so we're now with Brash Ag's #1 fan, Kieran Walsh. Kieran, I know you listened on the way up in the car this morning to
I did.
our podcast, Cruising the Fosse in the Freelander. Now,
Which is a remarkable statement. I nearly crashed when you said you're in the economical, reliable Land Rover Freelander, because we all know that's just not true. And I'm surprised, Ray, you were willing to got in it, really. And you didn't want to drive yourself home.
Well, yeah, I did. I offered to go in my nice Volkswagen, but he wouldn't have it. So
I came up in a Volkswagen, no problems.
Volkswagen Audi Group, much overrated. Everyone who always owns one tells you they're reliable, but forgets to mention how many times they have to fix them. At least us Land Rover drivers realise we drive poor vehicle choices.
Well,
Right.
if anyone would like to prove me wrong, just give me a call.
we can always test some vehicles for people, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Road test.
Yeah, let's
Well,
Brash Ag road test.
Brash Ag road test, that could happen. That could happen.
I tell you what would be a very good idea is a Brash Ag road trip to Agritechnica testing vehicles out.
Yeah.
Convoy.
Convoy.
Convoy, nice. Right. Okay.
I'll happily try the new Touareg or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be all right. Yeah.
Well,
If we stick it with the Volkswagen bit, you can.
I'd take Land Rover.
Yeah.
I think I'd just take a Vogue.
Or Tartar pickup.
Tartar pickup.
Oh, no. What hit note? So the new vehicle on the block, which is from Amazon and that other company. What's that called?
I've seen it. There's a electric pickup truck.
Yeah, little very small thing. I think it's even got windy down windows.
Oh, there's a blast from the past, eh?
Well, yeah.
But anyway, back to subject. I'm really intrigued to know what your bale spike item is you found.
So our bale spike item, to be honest, we only found one, and now I'm going to forget the name of the company.
No, they're called Ceres.
Ceres. It's named after the Roman god of agriculture.
Yes.
Orange equipment. You might have seen it. I'd never seen it before. But basically, they make blooming massive grain pushers, have them for 5 years.
I've seen that,
Yeah. And basically, they made enough money off selling blooming massive grain pushers that now they're making subsoiler, and they're making a tree grab, and they're making a...
Okay.
And essentially, they made... It's more expensive than a bale spike, but it was a bale spike item in the sense that it was a not crazy money and did exactly what it was set out to do, and made a name, got them onto farm, and now they've got the money and the cash flow to do other things, which is my whole point, really.
Ambition as well. He wanted to be on every farm in the UK.
And I said, well, dare I say it, your nice orange paintwork is going to stand out in the stinger nettles in 50 years' time. So,
I'm sure he took that well.
I did actually say that.
Yeah,
I did take it well. Right, anyway, so what's your bale spike item? Jeff?
I have found nothing, I'm afraid. I have been desperately looking, because obviously listening to the podcast this morning way up here, that was in the back of my mind when walking around, but unfortunately I don't think I've found one.
But you just mentioned before we started recording some sort of starch-based item, some sort of potato spin-out or something.
Yeah, well, yes. But I can't actually remember what he was fully telling me.
Right.
Because I was in that sort of place where lots of people were walking by going, hello.
Yeah. Well, you're just such a well-known person in the industry.
Well, probably for the wrong reasons, but anyway, it was. They were actually doing a lot more around starch-based products, and they've got a wider view of portfolio of what they want to make with starch, but to keep it really simple and to get things flowing and people interest, they're basically make a starch-based poo bag, from what I can believe. And
so a biodegradable poo bag.
Yeah,
which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
especially when you see all the ones that people lovingly leave dangling in trees.
Yeah, which none of us want, but
I
if
don't
for
I also never understand. Why bother to pick it up if you ain't going to hang it in
it's
the
just
tree?
pure laziness.
Well, it's just ridiculous
Yeah.
because you've made the effort to pick it
a
up.
really rubbish version of Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see your house at Christmas tree.
Right. Yeah.
Adorned with boo bags.
Across the garden gates.
Well,
Lovely.
maybe that is an option.
That's the way to keep the carol singers out, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely would.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more of a Halloween decoration, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keep the trick-or-treaters away.
You're now going to give your viewers, your audience, an idea for trick or treat.
So, okay, more in your lane then, Kieran, you're an agronomist, a farm advisor.
Yeah.
Anything new you've learned that you're going to pass on? Have you spoke to any of the chem companies, any of the seed companies and picked up anything?
Honestly, not a great deal. We get, as an agronomist, we get fed a lot of information throughout the year when new things are happening anyway. So there's no huge surprises here today. It was mainly to come and see some people, catch up with people like yourselves, just to see what's going on in the industry, make sure we aren't missing something. But I don't think I've missed a huge amount. But it's been good conversations with lots of people about maybe what we're facing in the future with things like a carbon tax on nitrogen and how we battle that one. Is there any clever items out there that we should be doing, or things that we should be using to monitor crops? But nothing new under the sun currently. Les really wants to tell me otherwise. But it's been a nice couple of days.
Good. Well, perfect. Yeah, well, thank you for your time and your summarization of your cereals experience.
Pleasure.
And please keep listening, Gav, because it is nice to have one listener. So that's it from part one of Brash Ag's coverage from cereals. I hope the audio quality has been bearable. Bear in mind it was recorded at an external show with outdoor speakers and all sorts of things going on in the background and wind blowing and the rest of it. But thanks for listening if you have been, and tune in next time to hear from more exhibitors.
You have been listening to Raymond King and Kit Franklin. Brash Ag. Thank you, and tune in next time.